All right. Good evening. It is 7:10 on May 6, 2021. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Royal Oak Parks, Recreation, and Senior Services Advisory Board to order. Due to the virtual nature of the meeting, all voting and attendance will be done through roll call. Going through as everyone appears on my screen, please state aye and where you're broadcasting from. Starting with Commissioner Macy.
I am broadcasting from WROK.
Crystal Chow.
Hi, I'm broadcasting from Detroit.
Joseph Vukic. I don't think I said that right.
You got it. I am broadcasting from Royal Oak.
Mr. Rapinski.
I am broadcasting from Waterford, Michigan.
And I, Sarah Kinninger, from Royal Oak. As we mentioned, we will vote on the approval of the minutes in a second, but want to go straight to some particular discussion around having a meeting. We currently don't have a meeting scheduled until September 2nd. I think Joseph, you just kind of walked in on the tail end of our conversation about potentially having some flexibility in the summer to meet. Traditionally, prior to 2019, we had not, there was a kind of a hiatus from, I would say, like June through August to not meet as a board. In July, we met with some more flexibility. Like one time we went to the golf course, and so we started to go to some of the parks. Our recommendation and one of the ideas is that maybe we meet in June at Normandy Oaks. Doesn't necessarily have to be the first Thursday, but we could schedule a meeting. We could vote to schedule a meeting in June at Normandy Oaks, and then we can work with John on what date that would be and make sure that we give the public enough notice. I think that's what we were talking about. Is that a fair recap?
I have a technical question on that, John. Is Normandy Oaks still a construction site?
There is, yeah. So we'll have to kind of.
I would recommend another park because of it's a public meeting. If we're gonna have it open to the public, I would just say that that's a construction site and that could be a concern.
Yeah, but we'll have to play some calendar games because if it's, let's say June 13th and it's not a construction site anymore, then we can head out there.
Right. I think we're opening at the end of June, so it's got to be getting closer, right, John?
Yes.
Let's go back to the golf course.
Okay.
Or another park that's had construction completed.
Got a inside facility at the golf course in case it rains. Just saying.
There's a pavilion at Normandy Oaks, isn't there? We can all I want to use the splash pad in the slide.
Again, if it's a construction site, Sarah, it becomes
an
issue of the public being allowed.
I understand. But I think what we're saying is we may not be meeting the first Thursday. So if we met later in June, it would be closer to not being a construction site because we're getting ready to open it.
But it would, as long as it's still an active construction site, that's a concern for the public. So being closer to, it would have to not be a construction site, is what I'm saying. So you might want to do that one in July or August.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying, because I just don't want to see us put ourselves in a situation. We have to have the public or then we have to cancel.
No, I appreciate that. Let's do this. Let's meet it. Say we're going to have a meeting in June. If we want to determine a location, can we determine the location later? Do we have to select it? Let's just select it. We will have a June meeting and leave it at that. Date and time to be determined. I will work with John to get the logistics figured out. So can someone make a motion? I cannot.
I move that we have a meeting in June.
Okay. Joseph, you've seconded it. So let's vote on it. Commissioner Macy?
Second, yep.
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Joseph?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Passes unanimously. Place and location to be determined. All right. Going back.
Sorry. I just walked in really quick. Sorry.
No.
What happened? Are we down board members or why? I didn't get the beginning of what happened.
We were just waiting for you to come. So we have a quorum. We have a new member that is waiting to get confirmed, Michael Lawrence. So he's kind of an honorary member tonight.
Okay.
We're letting him be a special guest as a panelist here with us. And then some other people were not able to make it today. So,
okay.
And Mike needs to drop off You weren't joining. So like logistically, we have like 15-minute overlap of a quorum at this point. So we
Okay.
needed to vote on that. And we needed to vote on the approval of the minutes. So I want to go back to that before Mike drops off, and then we won't be able to vote. We can still have our meeting and discuss all of the topics. We just can't make motions and vote on things.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. So going back to the approval of the April 1st, 2021 minutes, does anybody have any questions, thoughts, suggestions of changes?
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay. Anyone second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All right, quickly, we will vote. Mike Rapinski.
Aye.
Joseph?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Melanie Macy?
Aye.
And I pass those unanimously. I cannot talk today. All right, moving on to the next item number 4, which is city commission comments. Commissioner Macy, please let us know what's on your mind.
So actually, there wasn't much I could come up with. I was pretty excited to tell you about the social district and city attorney, but I think I did that last time. So did I? I think I did that last time. So there's.
I think you said you'd extended an offer, but I don't know if we knew who it was too.
Okay, good, thank you. So
You're welcome.
we extended an offer to a new city attorney, Aaron Leal. He accepted, and he will be joining us mid-June, I think June 14th. So we're very much looking forward to having him on board. So that'll be coming soon. In the social district, we talked about that. That's the downtown area, including at the moment, the area that is the parks. We've heard some concerns from Janice, who's in the audience, about having these parks be in part of the social district because we have an ordinance on the books that says we can't have alcohol in the parks, and probably we're going to need to modify that. It feels at the moment a little bit not urgent because the park's not done. Well, there is Eagle Plaza, but in any case, so that's the Parks and Rec. That's the Parks and Rec piece of that puzzle, is that there's a social district coming, and it does encompass some of the downtown parks, which means you can get a drink at one of the downtown establishments in a special cup, and then you can walk on the streets from one place to the next, and including the downtown park when it's complete, assuming we assuming we continue that. We're going to re-examine it in September, and at that point we'll be closer to knowing what the park looks like and whether or not we're going to do that. I think everything else that I have on my list is probably going to be updated, going to be part of the rest of the updates. So, Adopt a Park, that weekend happened. I think there's still some parks that probably could use some love. And Aaron said to say that anytime a group or neighborhood wants to go adopt a park and clean it up, the city is happy to provide the bags and pick them up. So you can call DPS and say, like, we'd like to clean up the park, and they provide. So it's not limited to that one weekend. I was going to say about the Oakland County Board of Commissioners had a native plant initiative where they were giving out native plants, but apparently they're all, I saw it today and they're all taken already. So, oh well, so much for that. And then the bees are now in at Normandy Oaks, but I have a feeling John's going to tell you that, so I don't want to steal his thunder. I think that's all I had.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Commissioner Macy's report? You guys all very quiet today. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is public comment. Just like on our in-person meetings, we limit speaking time to 3 minutes, which is the standard for all city, commission, or committee meetings. Please use the raise hand icon and click on that. It will bring you off mute to address the board. Looks like Mr. McGee would like to speak with us. Mr. McGee, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Evening, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So I spoke to John on this subject, and so my name's Pat McGee. I live at 4524 Elmhurst Avenue. Back on the Wednesday last week, April 28th, I was at Elks Park with my son, 17 months, who was playing on the play structure at Elks Park. Out all of a sudden, a contractor showed up, started performing saw cuts at Woodlawn and Avenue connected to Normandy Oaks as part of its construction project, and just had a giant cloud of dust from the concrete cutting. This was very upsetting. It's not good for 17 months to be engulfed in a cloud of concrete dust with all the silica in it. So immediately grabbed my son and went back home. Emailed the city engineer who didn't know anything about it, forwarded it to the water supervisor, Lee, who then had to go out and told them to stop because they were not performing their job correctly. Got in touch with John, told him how frustrated I was because this is a big issue, I think, to expose an under 2-year-old to such a volume of concrete dust, and at a park that, as far as I know, was not under construction. So I guess my two things is, not to sound like I'm just complaining, but I was very upset that at a park that was not under construction was exposed to a whole bunch of construction dust with no warning or anything. So I just want to stress how frustrating and how serious I thought this was. So as Normandy Oaks gets closer to finishing and the contractor continues to push into Elks Park and destroy the fence and now bring bulldozers, steamrollers, bobcats, and front end loaders into Elks Park, is Elks Park open? It seems like if it's going to be part of the construction, it should be closed or open. And two, as it gets closer to Normandy Oaks finishing, do we have any assurances that the contractor is going to do the correct job, a safe job, and not cut corners just to finish it on time? Because from somebody that walks in this area constantly and goes to this park pretty regularly now with my 2-year-old, if it'd be nice to know what's going on so I can plan on either not being in the area if they're going to be doing construction, or if they won't be in the area, then I can enjoy the park. So that's it. Sorry. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. We appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Anyone else for public comment?
Give it a little bit. I don't see anyone else with their hand raised.
Give it another second. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment then. So moving on to item number 6, which is new business. We'll start with the Royal Oak beekeepers.
Sarah, I had a recommendation. I sent an email earlier today to request moving an agenda item up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the email.
Well, I sent it to John and Aaron. I received an email today from a resident who's also a friend of mine regarding Normandy Oaks and the sledding hill. And I'd like to make the whole Normandy Oaks update, if we could push that to the next item on the agenda. So
I'm sorry. My bad.
My is that the discussion of Normandy Oaks update be the next item on the agenda.
No problem. That's fine. I'm sorry. I was not aware, Mr. Raczynski. I apologize. All right. So the first item of business is Normandy Oaks update.
Well, that was a motion to move that item.
Can't we just motion? Okay, Melanie, you second it? All right, let's vote. Melanie?
Yes.
Crystal?
Aye.
Joseph?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
He says aye. I say aye. Okay, first order of business, Normandy Oaks update.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just trying to put all this in. Who seconded that? Chris Mason.
You got 5 minutes, Mike. Let's go.
All right. So, Mike, if you want to go ahead or you want me to go ahead and give everyone an update?
Yeah, let me do my thing quick. I sent the email that I received to John and Aaron, and I'm going to ask them to forward it to the rest of the board. Essentially, the concern from the resident Gail Agazinski, she has young boys, and they do a lot of sledding around and hills and everything. She said the sledding hill, as it's designed right now, is not parent friendly. In other words, there's no place for the parents to stand or to be at the top of the hill when the kids get their sleds up the top and go down, so that they can monitor them. And, you know, like, so kids aren't bumping into each other at the same time going down the hill. You know, it's kind of a combination safety / parental oversight issue. And you know, having been chair of that whole Normandy Oaks task force and everything, I can tell you, we never gave this a thought that there would be something on the design of the sledding hill that we needed to address. I don't know if we can do anything at this late stage with that design of that hill. I mean, it's already been seeded and it's been, you know, prepared. Although if we're going to do anything, I think it would be, you know, spring, summer to do it. So I guess that the idea would be, can we take that back to our contractor, oversight contractor for the park, to see if there's anything they can do to modify the top of that sledding hill to allow room for parents. So it's not a motion or anything. It's just an item that I wanted to bring to the board's attention.
Thank you. John, what do you have to add or thoughts?
I mean, I haven't been on top of the sledding hill because we're letting the grass germinate and everything. I know we had some people over the winter months test out the sledding hill, so we can, I guess, monitor the situation as it develops more. But I think at this point we may be a little bit too late in the stage. I mean, that sledding hill was engineered to a certain point for it to be high enough to be entertaining, but not high enough to be dangerous. Because there was concerns where if there were to be any higher, you could potentially run into trees that are essentially in front of it. So with that being said, if we were to make a wider area at the top, I don't think it's as simple as adding more soil, topsoil, or more grade and adding more seeds. So I think there's probably going to be a little bit more engineering to it to kind of try to keep everything within that fun but safe area. And I don't know. I don't know. It's a valid concern for sure. And I think staff is just going to have to monitor it, but I don't know what we can do at this point. And go out there, put some more soil on there, and regrade it and reseed it.
Yeah, John. You know, looking back on it, we never even gave that a thought. And you know, I think the thing to do right at this point is to be aware of it, to take it under advisement. I'll get back to Ms. Agazinski and let her know it was discussed at our level, and that there's really nothing we can do at this point in time, but that we will be aware of it and keep our eye on it. Maybe be able to make some change in the future.
Yeah. Well, other news of Normandy Oaks. So they poured the first colored portion of concrete at the splash pad yesterday. So that was being the curing process later afternoon yesterday, and they were getting the footings and the concrete foundations ready for inspection tomorrow for the outer ring of the splash pad, which is going to be receiving another portion of concrete all to be ready to go for the second pour of colored concrete next week. So the splash pad is coming together. The playground installers were out there last week and this week getting the flooring or their fall zone portion appropriately graded out, so that way they can put the turf on, the artificial turf that will serve as the fall zone. So they're out there working on that as well. The second soccer field received their under drain yesterday, and today the irrigation specialists were out there setting up the irrigation for the second soccer field. And next week, the seed mix will be going out on the second soccer field. And then we have moved forward with what I call the Chia Pet Miracle Grow soccer grass that turf specialists from Michigan State say that we can get the soccer fields up and running by fall. So that will come right after the seed mix. And so they'll be out there. So good stuff to look forward to. The pavilion is just needing some paint. The paint needs to be at a 45-degree or warmer temperature. So during the lovely Michigan season, we have fluctuated between some 30-degree nights and some 80-degree days, but we need a constant 45-degree or warmer temperature in order for that to be painted. But hopefully next week, when the weather kind of starts getting up in that area, that would all be painted.
John, I'm sorry to jump in everything, but I've got to sign off, folks. I'll see everybody next month at a date and time to be determined. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good showing. I've had
majority of the trails have been cut. So the trails are going to be like one of the last things that get done, because it's going to be something that the contractor is going to do on his way out. So as they're pulling all the machinery and crews out, that's going to be the last thing that they are going to do. So, but all the trails have been cut, and they've got their first coating on, or they've got the gravel that serves as their base coat down. Aaron and I are getting signs ready to be made and put up at Normandy Oaks. I'm sure everyone saw that article from the Oakland County Press, Oakland Press. So yes, we're trying to get this thing all wrapped up and have some sort of opening in late June. June 26th is in particular is the date that we're eyeing. We got bees in the park. So Aaron and I met last week with Bees in a D group, Brian and his workers, and we found a spot to put the bees at. So they were out there last week, and then yesterday around 5:30, the bees found their new home. So they're all settled in there, and they are doing their thing that bees do. So we got bees in the park now, which is exciting. And it's a lot of things are going on, and it's pretty much just trying to get to the finish line, fine tuning everything and buttoning everything up as far as Normandy Oaks goes. So it's going to be pretty fast now that concrete's coming in and all that good stuff.
And at Aaron's horror, the bees hives have artwork on them. I didn't realize they were getting delivered with artwork, but we had a professional artist put some nice, very subtle art on them. But I appreciated that they showed up with a little bit more detail than Aaron was expecting. Sorry about that, John and Aaron. So can we talk a little bit about Elks Park then, John? I think that Mr. McGee had some good points here, and I think understanding if it just makes sense to close that park at this point until we're done and we can focus on it, or what?
So there are multiple entrances into the park. There's an entrance coming off of Normandy, concrete sidewalk entrance coming up Normandy. I believe there are 2 or 3 entrances from Elks Park into Normandy Oaks Park. And so the saw cutting last week happened to be at one of the entry points between Normandy Oaks and Elks Park. So they were taking down the fence. The fence is going to come down anyways. It's going to be one of the last things to come down as well. But the fence is going to come down, but they did cut the fence, and they were saw cutting concrete to prepare new concrete to come in and serve as kind of a walking path from Elks Park into Normandy Oaks. So the 2 entrances are going to be where the bridge is going to be, so closer to the Elks Park parking lot. So there's one entrance. And then the second entrance is going to be closer to the playground into Normandy Oaks from Elks Park. And then there's a third one that is kind of going to be on that corner of, I believe it's Nakota and Elks Park. So that corner is going to have an entrance, and those should be the 3 kind of entry parks into the park. The contractor was cutting concrete without water, and you're supposed to cut concrete with water to help, alleviate some of the dust. So our water guy sent our water guy out there to tell him to stop, or to make sure, in order to continue, they had to have the proper equipment. So they did stop. The contractors, England, the contractors were notified that, one of their crews was cutting concrete without water. So they went out, they had a conversation with them. And it rained the next day. So most of the debris should have, the rain from the following day was sufficient enough to kind of clean the playgrounds off of any sort of dust that had occurred. As far as closing down Elks Park, I think we're at a point right now where they've already poured the concrete for that entrance. So if there is any work that's going to be done on the border of Elks Park and Normandy, it's just going to be very limited. I mean, we can.
Is there a schedule when they're doing it so we could post that for residents so they're aware? I mean, I think it's a valid point, and I appreciate that it's not going to, hopefully it's going to be minimal, but I still think it's a concern.
Yeah, I mean, it is a concern. I mean, we can close the parks. I mean, we close parks all the time for a construction project, but you can see how well that worked out for Normandy Oaks. People were walking around it and using the sledding hill and going ice skating on the ponds during the winter months. So, I mean, we can put park close signs up and everything like that, just kind of notify everyone and all the neighbors. So that's something that we always look into, but there's gonna, now that once those fences come down, kind of the collateral, not really collateral damage, but the kind of aspect of it is that now Elks Park is kind of now part of Normandy Oaks Park. So,
are there construction vehicles on Elks? Mr. Rickey mentioned something about construction vehicles.
I mean, there was construction vehicles on Normandy Oaks site cutting into Elks.
Okay, but it's not like they're being stored on Elks or. Okay. I mean,
Yeah, all the construction equipment is all in Normandy Oaks.
Is Elks getting updated after this?
It needs to.
Okay.
I will say, Aaron and I have been talking. One of my suggestions is with the CARE Act, if there was a need, it would be Elks Park. The tennis courts need to be redone, the playground needs to be done, basketball court needs to be redone. We have this beautiful park right next to it. And then right now we have Elks Park. So
is it CDBG eligible?
It is. However, there's kind of a long story with Elks Park and the CDBG.
Okay.
it kind of happened before I came on board, but there was they were trying to use CDBG funds to upgrade Elks Park. When it went under review by the government, they noticed that Normandy Oaks Park was in the process of being bid out, and they essentially took those two parks as one. So they claim that Elks Park is part of Normandy Oaks Park, and Normandy Oaks Park is not necessarily a neighborhood park, but a park for people to go to. And since Elks Park was, categorized into Normandy Oaks, it threw a red flag.
Got it.
Most likely to use any sort of CDBG funds on Elks Park probably has sailed.
What was that?
Most likely the opportunity to use CDBG
Okay.
for Elks Park has sailed.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay. So I guess, anybody else have any thoughts? Go
ahead, Commissioner
Chris.
Newsy.
Okay.
I was just gonna say this. So, I mean, John, I wonder if, like, you seem to know a lot what's going on in Normandy Oaks. I have a sense that you know the daily, what's going on day to day there. So I wonder if there's going to be something right on that border that could be kicking up dust or could be causing a problem for elks. Like, would it make sense on that day to have a sign that you could just stick up and say, "Be aware, this is happening on this border right now"?
Yeah, I mean, we get a general schedule from the contractors of what's going on, but typically, there may be some days where they're not doing it and then they come back the next day. So for instance, the next possible dust up or something like that would be when they put down asphalt or when they start tearing out the fence. A lot of these, especially with asphalt, because the plant that where you typically get it from is shut down, so they're going to be getting it from another plant. So it's almost one of those things where when it comes, and they put it down. Now, concrete was one of those areas where they're trying to get them in as fast as they can, and they told the contractors, "We're going to come in." And the contractors welcomed them, so they were just prepping everything to get ready. So we were not actually aware that they were going to be saw cutting Elks Park when they weren't cutting Elks Park, but cutting in that area. And we also weren't aware that they were not using proper equipment.
Is there any, is there any Facebook or notifications? I know when you were first starting up with Normandy Oaks, it seems like there was a lot of information out for the public. Is there a place like on Facebook or next door, like that the contractor could provide those updates if something changes, not relying on you, John, to know that in advance?
Yeah, I mean, NOWROK and Frost was the one that put together those flyers and those notices. I've actually requested to have them send out more stuff lately. I don't receive those actually. I've asked them to send them to me. That way I can at least see what they're sending out to the neighbors. So I can't tell you if they've sent them out a month ago or whatnot. We also do have a site supervisor on there from NOWROK and Frost. So whether he was not present at that time, but he should have been out there and telling those guys to stop before our staff had to go out there and tell the guys to stop. So it was kind of one of those situations where I think things just kind of got lost and we had to squash it right away.
Krista?
I would just say that it's unfortunate that Mr. McGee had his child out there when there was a lot of construction going on, but I would say that I think that there's a cost to having our parks redone. I mean, I'm right by Lawson Park and Franklin Park, and those are set for renovation right now. It was scheduled starting late April, but we haven't seen anything until this week, I believe, in my neighborhood. And even just on my commute to work, we've had a road closure going over the 696. So I think that, the effort to communicate to the neighbors that there is construction is great, John, and I think that we're doing our best. So I think that resolution for Mr. McGee would involve, determining whether that's happening. But now that the neighborhood is on notice, hopefully that will check everybody's expectations that they can expect construction, but the reward is an improved park.
Yeah, so like for Lawson Park and Franklin Park, I know Joseph Murphy, our planning director, sent out letters to all the residents. We posted a notice on Facebook saying that the park was being under construction. So May 3rd is when they mobilize equipment out there. And we're probably looking at a September deadline for them, for both Lawson and Franklin.
Right.
All right. Anything else around Normandy Oaks? Mr. Lawrence, you can talk, Mr. Lawrence. We just can't have you vote. You're welcome to talk us up, though.
I should probably ask what the ground rules were. I was just looking at a map of the area, an aerial map of the area, just to see what Elks Park looked like, the proximity of the playground equipment to the construction areas in Normandy Park. And yeah, I mean, when they get ready, if they haven't already torn out the fences, I mean, that's directly adjacent to the play areas.
It's unfortunate that Elks didn't get roped into Normandy.
And the aerial view of Elks Park, it's a little tired.
It is a little tired. We appreciate that. That's why I said I think it's unfortunate that we couldn't just rope it into Normandy Oaks project, but we didn't, and it's not. So here we are, and we'll figure out Elks Park next, because I think we all agree that that one is definitely on the refresh list.
Yeah.
Joseph, any comments? Just unsigned from the game.
Pardon?
Unsigned from the game. Kind of chilly and rainy out there.
Yeah, drying. No, it was. I guess my comment is, it's a little bit of a non sequitur, but where in the location of the park are the bees going to be housed, and is that in a direct proximity to like a play area for children? And since we've kind of talked about that, I was just kind of curious about the location of where that would be, and like if that was something that like kids could accidentally wander into, and if that could become an issue. And
so the bees are in the Oak Savannah. They are next
They're
to
in a nature area. That's what John's referring to. The Savannah is a nature area, right, John?
Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. So, and they are actually positioned in a direction, according to Brian from Bees and Bee, where they are most common to travel, and the direction is south. And the direction that they are traveling goes over a retention pond. So the thought process behind that is you can't go into the retention pond. So when they travel that way, you have the least path of people walking into it, right? Now, granted, they are, bees and wild animals. So, there may be some times where they don't like to go south and they like to go west, but it is in a general location where people, if they really wanted to bother them, they could, but it's not in an area where it will cause problems.
And for the most part, honeybees are not very.
Yeah, honeybees.
They're there to produce honey. They're not there to.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there to cause any problems, so they're in a pretty good spot.
They're pretty docile. They're there to work. I promise. We talked to the Bryans about this. One of the things, going back to the B's and the D, John, I think would be interesting. I did talk to them a little bit about education. And I don't know if they mentioned to you that they do like Friday educational posts on their Facebook page. Thought that might be a great ad for our Parks and Rec Facebook page, just to help from that educational perspective to get that word out there.
we're gonna put a sign out there that talks about bees and how honeybees work and everything like that, just to kind of keep everyone informed as well. And hopefully, as you know, as the park opens up and you know gets through, we can have more like actual have B's and D's come out and do sort of sessions of collecting honey.
They want to do educational programs and stuff with the kids. They have a Girl Scout program, all those types of things. So I don't know. Normandy Oaks has been quite a hot topic today. It's exciting to hear that we're coming close to the finish line though, John.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
I bet you are. It's been a long time. I feel like I've been on this board and we've been talking about Normandy Oaks for the entire 3 years. So I can't wait to be standing at the grand opening and celebrating.
My first project, and I can't wait to finish it.
Love to get you a
picked the
new
longest
big one, a new huge project for John.
Right. All right. Anything else on Normandy Oaks from the group? Yes.
I was just going to say, I'm excited about the soccer fields. When I saw in the article that Aaron said they were going to be ready in fall, I was like, that is not what John told me. That is not approved media coverage, but apparently you found the right grass.
That was before we knew we were going to get this chia pet stuff. So
okay, I'm excited about the chia pet grass.
I've always wanted a chia pet. I should just go buy one.
No, note to self.
Now I can just go to the soccer fields at Normandy Oaks.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot cheaper.
Will those soccer fields then go into the like the general rotation of spring and fall soccer for rec and premier teams?
Yeah, so those soccer fields, they are premier grade mix of seed mix. So, they actually could be played on throughout the year without any sort of breaks, but most likely they'll put some breaks on them.
Like magic chia grass.
I love Michigan State. Isn't that where you said you got it?
It's these turf management guys that have this sort of root mixer. So
that's awesome. Well, that's exciting. Well, I know we're all very excited to stand there on June 26th and celebrate your first big project done. All right, going back to the top, Royal Oak beekeepers. Now that we have bees, now we're going to have beekeepers, John. Like it's like magic how these things come up. Such synergy.
Well, I guess this is kind of a two-prong with Commissioner Macy and I. So we have these bees in the D that was presented to the commission meeting a month ago, and I received a lot of phone calls from local Royal Oak beekeepers, and so. They reached out to us and they actually sent me an email with an idea of a proposal of what they could provide. And I believe they also met with Commissioner Macy, so I'll let her kind of take it away from here and let her talk about her meeting.
Yeah, so after we got the public comment, and essentially they were saying, hey, we have local beekeepers, why'd you go with bees in the D? And so I talked to them about that, but also said, hey, it's not like 2 hives is our city limit. Like, tell me what you got. And I met with them on a really, really cold day at the Arboretum. And so we were looking around at the Arboretum and over Tenhave and did some site mapping there. We actually met with Bob Mueller from the Royal Oak Nature Society. Although it turns out that the Nature Society doesn't want, they had been thinking about hives in the Arboretum, but they've decided they are really focused on getting they have a number of native plants and trees, and they want to make sure that they get like the complete set, collect them all. And so they don't, the bees take up too much room, essentially. And they, by the way, said the same thing that John was talking about they have a path, like, so the hive is situated in a certain way, and then like the 10 feet out, and they go one way. It's like an airport where they only go one way out. So it makes sense to me about that. I hadn't known it before. Anyway, they seemed great, and they said, we'd love to do this and have some of our honey be donated to the senior center or wherever you guys would like. And we have hives that are ready to go this year. And so I said, call John. So they've been talking to John, and they got a contract over, and I'm just now realizing that we should have talked about this when we still had quorum, because I think if we're going to do anything, what we need to do is like vote to authorize John if he sees fit to take this to the commission.
Where
as
did
a
you land on
potential.
putting them?
So she had several. Go ahead, John.
Okay.
Are you gonna say you unmuted? So.
For me,
Oh, okay. No, if I don't. So she sent me several options. I can't remember what they are.
I was thinking the Arboretum, but if the Nature Society has that off the charts, then
Is the Arboretum by the senior center?
Yeah.
behind Senior Center, yeah.
Could you put them on the, like more on the senior center
I
side?
think we can find a spot for them in the Arboretum.
Like,
Oh, interesting. So I
I'll let you
took
and Bob Miller figure that out. I'm not getting involved in that.
I just took Arboretum off the list when the Nature Society was like, no, I don't think, because when we met with Bob, he seemed really enthusiastic about the idea of bees, but I think their lead arborist or gardener or something was not as excited, was not as keen. But I kind of agree with you. There's probably other places that aren't directly in the places they're planting that are still in that area. So if that's what you're open to. So, I mean, Amber Nadolsky is the woman who's sort of leading the charge with this. The beekeeper who's leading the charge, and she has some hives that she's ready to split. Apparently they split now. So,
Okay.
And she seemed really flexible. She's like, she came up with 3 other places when we said the Arboretum wasn't a great match. So I think if we said, okay, let's look at some other places in the Arboretum, she'd be good with that. So I guess I don't know where to go from here because she's not here. And also we don't have quorum to even send an advisory up to them. But I mean, I guess, like, do we as a group at the moment feel comfortable with John working with her?
So I'll need her. She kind of sent just like a brief email of what it would like cost. So I would need a little bit more of a formal, and I'll communicate with her as well. Just need something a little bit more formal to present to the board, and then we can figure out a location and then kind of just.
Okay. She actually sent me a contract. I thought she sent it to you too. Like she sent me a full on like the bees and the D thing.
Yeah, the only thing I have is just an email describing what her group is entails, and then
Okay.
the cost of what it would take.
Okay.
What was the cost?
I think it was like $1,200.
The only reason I think it'd be nice to have them close to the senior center is if they were going to donate the honey there. I thought that would be nice.
Well, so she said that because we were by the senior center when we were talking, but maybe if we had it somewhere else, she would donate it to a school. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think another neat place to have one might be near a community garden. If we're already kind of moving forward with that might be some nice synergy there between the bees
So I
and the
talked to
fruits
her
and the
about the-
vegetables.
I did talk to her about the community gardens. It's not going to get going this summer. So, but I told her some of the places that the community gardens had their eye on, and we're hoping to maybe get some plots set up at the end of this year, but there won't be any planting in it until next year. But I had the same thought that obviously that like it would be great to have these pollinators around if we're trying to grow some fruits and vegetables. So yeah,
maybe we could trade a space for the bees for one of the plants that they need in their collection. We can negotiate.
We can do some negotiations.
We can just negotiate.
And I should say that I have since received more contact from other beekeepers who are like, wait, I have beehives too. So pretty soon we're going to have beehives at every park. It'll be fine.
We're going to be the salons and beehive city.
Oh my gosh.
You
in fact,
stole my line.
That reminds me. This is something I meant to say but forgot, is that Anne-Marie Nadolsky, this woman, also let me know that there's such a thing as being a bee city. So like we're a tree city, we could also be a bee city. So
I love that it rhymes. We can be the tree and bee city.
Bee tree friendly. So I have not really looked into it at all. I just like looked at the website briefly and thought, oh, this is kind of interesting. But that's something that we can think about as we go forward. I mean, it's not just about having beehives. It's also about, pollinator friendly plants and rain gardens and things like that. So I think it's probably something that the Environmental Advisory Board would be interested in looking at too. So anyway.
Bees, trees, and age friendly. My God, what an inclusive city. We're including all ages and the bees and trees.
So one thing that Ann and I did talk about was to not oversaturate the bee population.
Right.
Because there's only so much food out there, for them. Not that they can't travel further, but so if we were to add another hive, I would think 2 would probably be the limit, like 2 locations, not 2 hives, but 2 locations.
I don't know if that's going to
Okay.
make us a bee city. We'll have to see.
I don't think so. All right.
At this
Are we
point,
ready?
people should be giving us bees. I mean, how come Burt's Bees how come we can't solicit donations if everybody wants to give us bees? I mean, we'll take them for free. I feel like,
Well, someone has to care for them. That's the thing. So
Right,
the
they're-
beekeepers who contacted us had said, like, why are you paying Bees and the Bee will do it for free? But actually they won't, right? They'll give you the hives for free, but then if you want them to manage the hives, then there's like a contract and you would pay them. But I agree, like there's places that they need to put their hives. They can't keep them all in the same place as they're trying to split them. And we've got places.
so the 1,200 is for the maintenance, not for buying the hives.
Right. It's like the whole contract of what they provide and what we provide, the city.
And they have to go out and like clean the honey out and stuff so they can produce more. And I mean, I've watched pictures. I've watched videos.
They have to overwinter them. I don't know. I don't know about beekeeping, but although I did learn a lot when I met with her.
I thought when John said this was like Commissioner Macy's thing, I thought it was going to be that you were going to do the bees were going to get dressed up as fairies for the garden.
Well, I do think the fairy garden could probably use some bees too, but it'll have
Okay.
to just be local, non-hive bees.
You'll just not have to tell John because he's
I guess one thing I learned is that tons of people in rural Oak have beehives in their backyard.
clearly.
I had no idea that was happening, that was a thing.
Does anybody have chickens in Royal Oak? Oh my. Okay.
Yeah, we have a neighbor that has a couple.
Really?
Yep.
Are they loud?
Yeah. They're like 2 blocks over. I mean, every time
Okay.
we walk our dog by it, we see them, but they're just chilling in the backyard. They got a fence.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I hope that's
Okay.
legal. I think it is. I don't know.
think
I'm
it
not
is
gonna. Yeah.
If not, you just outed your neighbors.
Yeah.
We're gonna go looking. No, I think it is legal.
Like, okay. All right. Anything else on beekeepers? So it doesn't like John, it sounds like next steps are for you to get a formal contract from her and then you'll bring it back to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Mhm.
All right, Commissioner Macy. I guess the bees aren't getting dressed up as fairies, but I'm
No.
I'm a little disappointed about that. I'm not
No.
gonna lie. But tell us about your fairy garden.
Oh, fairy garden. So when we were looking and talking about community gardens, and I was working with the Environmental Advisory Board, and they went through this whole process to identify some places. And as we did it, there was talk about what each person who was there would be willing to do for the garden. And actually, I have my own garden, so I'm not really willing to do a lot of work for a community garden that I don't, I'm willing to help set it up, but I don't really want to do the work. But I did say that I would be interested in a fairy garden for children. And I think they thought it was crazy, but then I made John and Aaron listen to it, and they may also have thought that, but they thought it was okay. So we're gonna put a little, just a little area. I think when we say 8x8, John, some small, over at Bassett Park. So Bassett Park is it's the park on Campbell that has the new play equipment that is sort of nature-based. So it looks like logs and has like little squirrels in there and everything. And so there'll be this little area, and then I have volunteered to get it going. But you create a little fairy house out of like sticks and twigs, and you can have little fairy paths and fairy yards and so on, fences. And then some areas will be the fairies flower garden, and some areas will be the fairies herb garden. And then we'll have a sign up. So I've talked to Judy Davids about getting a sign for the fairy garden where we'll say, please make the fairies feel welcome here. You are, this area is for houses. Please feel free to design the houses, and you can bring flowers or herbs to add to their farms as well. So the hope is that people who are visiting the park will be excited about the fairy garden and will start to participate. And we're going to leave some raw materials. I have some like little pea gravel and also some sticks that we'll leave right next to it so that people can start to do their own construction. And if it is a flop, then my children will be making a really nice fairy garden this year for you all. Then they'll be maintaining it all summer. So that is what I told John and Aaron, is that if I live close so that we can keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't look junky. And I'm hoping it will be cool.
My daughter has one and she's really into it. So we'll have at least one more there to help you out. So
Yes.
we've got a lot of we've got a lot of things we could add to it. So she's got a lot of cool little houses and decorations and stuff.
I think the fairies would like a sofa. Could you bring a sofa and like a 40-inch TV over? They'd like some TV to watch in their free time. Okay, awesome, exciting. Does anybody have any questions about the fairy garden?
I have a question for myself, Irene, for John. What's the timeline? Because we met a couple weeks ago and you were like, a month or so. How close are we to the end of that time?
I was gonna order the boxes tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but next week.
Okay.
Just one or two 8x8s.
I think just one. I mean, the idea is it's going to be like a sandbox, except a dirt fairy garden spot that kids can play. And if we like it, then we'll make the fairies another home next year. Judy was also talking about in Ann Arbor, they have fairy doors on the businesses. Like they paint little fairy doors, and you can go like on a hunt for the fairy doors in the businesses. The downtown, I thought that was cool, but
We'll have to talk to the art commission about that.
That's right. The arts should do that.
Commission of the Arts will be more than happy probably to find an artist to help us with fairy doors.
I mean, if the fairies move in, then we're just going to have to make some more places for them.
That's right. Well, we're age friendly here, so you know what? They are welcome. Okay. Anything else on the fairy gardens? I can't wait to come over and see it. All right, Centennial Commons. Is that the downtown park? Is that the new name? I'm on the task force. I should know these things.
That is the name for the downtown park.
Okay, thank you.
So from what I know, we're all still kind of in the beginning stages of everything. You guys probably should have seen the fencing, the site fencing that they put up on it and whatnot. So the next stages are bringing down the city hall. I believe there was some additional abatement that had to be done, so it kind of just delayed the demo of the city hall, but that's the next big thing that's going to be coming down. And once city hall comes down, it's pretty much full steam ahead as far as getting all the park ready to go. We'll start grading it and getting it mobilized, and we'll start seeing it come together as a park. There is a deadline, I believe, out there for November for it to be completed. But just a real brief update for everyone, just in case you guys haven't heard anything from there.
Thank you for putting the stop signs in at the fencing. Like it was dangerous, like because you couldn't see around the fencing to turn when they first put the fencing up. So thank you for that. When City Hall goes down, then does the police station go with it, or is that all like considered one big?
Yeah, it's all considered one building.
Okay. Do we know when the infamous memorial is going to be moved? Okay,
No,
good.
Issue in its own.
Okay. Any questions about Centennial Commons for John?
Can I, I don't know if this is picking at a scab, but is the issue with the memorial, is that resolved? Is that moving forward with the move? Okay. Just want
We're
to
moving
confirm. Okay.
That's a very optimistic answer. No, it is not resolved. The petition was submitted to the city clerk to move it back if it does get moved, and that it was rejected for being legally insufficient. So I don't know what's happening now, but I mean, Sarah's right in that it's resolved. Like the decision was made over a year ago, and so like when the time comes, it will be moved. But I think the scab you're talking about is the petition, and that's still ongoing.
There's some legalities that I don't know.
What'd you say?
There's some legalities that fall outside my.
Okay. We as a task force in the city commission approved moving it. How's that? That's where I understand it lies.
Correct. So thankfully we have a new city attorney, right?
June 14th.
All right. Speaking of fun stuff, senior outreach.
Okay, so I just wanted to give a little update on the senior outreach. Mrs. Okay. This is me, right, John?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two things I wanted to say about this. The first one is that the The library has started to take on the task of some of the technology things we had talked about. They have on Mondays at 11, I'm pretty sure, they have, I think it's called like computer college for seniors, where they're covering different topics every Monday about dealing with technology and helping seniors use it. So the library is still not open to the public, unfortunately, but it will be soon. So these are all Zoom. But the idea was to get this going, to get this rolling right now. And that, I think that's taking place. And then there will be, when the library opens, which is now scheduled for May 19th, there's going to be a power outage because they're moving the big green power thingy. Maybe you don't know, there's a big green power thingy that they had to put up for construction in front of the library. And they have to, now the construction is done. They're going to move it off. So that's going to happen sometimes in the next few weeks. And so the library didn't want to open and then immediately close for 3 or 4 days while they're totally shut down. So May 19th is now the new magical day. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, so actually Janice sent us this, I think just to me and Sarah, this, it's A1 Area Agency on Aging newsletter that had a bunch of pretty interesting panels that are coming up and some workshops that I think we can just participate in if we're interested. So I think it would be a great thing for the Senior Center to push out on their Facebook page. And I'm also like for us as a board to attend. Sometimes I feel like we feel at a loss about, what do we do next? Like, what are other ways that we can help and what else can we do? And I think this would be a good way for us to shore that up, a little bit of training. So anyway, I'll be forwarding that on. I thought that was really interesting. And I think those were, and then I mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting that Maya is not well. And so we haven't been able to keep our meetings going about the seniors and technology, but I think we're committed to doing that and looking at it again, especially as the library is reopening and then the schools are get back going full time in the fall, when I also will have a student at the high school who I can make do this and help me figure out how the high school works. So we're looking at that. And then I've been working with Judy Davids on figuring out how we're going to get the senior outreach in terms of getting a better list. And so we have some lists and some ideas, but we haven't finalized anything yet. So we're still working on that. I think that's all.
After July, after I get through the Rocket Mortgage Classic, if Maya is still not available, I'd be happy to step in and try to help a little bit. I just need to get through my Rocket Mortgage Classic commitments right now, on top of the other things that I'm committed to.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure what all this means yet, but
Yeah, that's okay.
my last employer was Microsoft.
Wow.
I've done technology consulting and also did education training at the Roper School in Bloomfield Hills. Did that for a few years. So I followed technology in Royal Oak and in particular the library programs because I'm a senior and I'm interested in what are they doing for seniors. So
Awesome.
So the resident family technology expert on anything and everything. And
Good.
recently I've been working with a company, and I don't, working's probably a loose term, but it's an interactive technology that's being designed for seniors that you would actually put in your house, and it would actually wake you up in the morning. It would interact with you and ask you questions, and based upon your responses would do all kinds of neat things. So in the area of technology for seniors and for shut-in people, there's some really phenomenal things coming along.
That's awesome to hear.
Be worth looking into.
Sarah, you might be off the hook.
Good.
I might rope
think-
Michael into this because
Right? Well, maybe
yes,
both of
that
us
sounds
can
great. So the background is just that some of the things that we've seen as needs for need for seniors in our community is some technology help. And so we were thinking of connecting teens who are, technology experts with seniors who are looking for that help. And as a project to, generation gap, bridging that generation gap, and also, helping the information divide. So
Yeah.
that's what we've been looking at, and it's been rough going in COVID. But if this is an area you have expertise in, it would be absolutely wonderful to have you work with us on figuring out how to get something like that going.
Yeah, that's an area that I'm more than happy. The other thing that
Awesome.
I'm doing is business transformation consulting for the last 30 years. So I've been helping companies, but I've also worked with Lighthouse of Oakland County on doing transformation of business processes and so on. So anything to do with process transfer.
Oh, I know a task force for you.
And so the other thing I did want to comment on before we get too far away from it. So
Sure.
part of a focus group at the senior center, and I think it was the whatever it is, the A1B aging group. I'm not big on names like that, but they went through a whole focus session with a variety of people on types of offerings and interests and things like that. That was probably, I don't know, with the pandemic, I've sort of lost track of time, like maybe a year and a half ago. So I'm
one of the things that we are doing,
same program.
one thing that we are doing is Royal Oak is currently involved with the AARP in becoming an age-friendly designation. So we're going through the process. It's a 5-year process. The first year was part of hosting focus groups based on the 8 domains and gathering community feedback. So that's where we are with that.
I was involved, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the chair of that task force, so I'd be happy to give you any updates you'd like. But we are currently going through the process of setting up working groups. So now that we have all the data that we have, the next step is to assemble working groups that are made up of subject matter experts and residents. And then we will be going through and creating an action plan that we need to submit to the AARP. That will be done, hopefully. We're still working on our timeline. Then once we do that, we spend years 3 through 5 monitoring and implementation of the actions that we're recommending. So we have a little hiatus for about a year due to a pandemic. So we're just getting back started. We talked in our last meeting, which was Monday, about potentially starting our working groups in September. Just kind of get through the summer, get all of our all the action, the templates in place, the kickoff meetings. We need to write an action plan. So really understanding what elements we want in there so that we are gathering the data to supplement that, so it's a little bit easier to come together and write that final report that we're going to need. One other thing that we've been waiting for is an assistant to the city manager to help with some of the administrative and get data gathering that we're going to need. So it doesn't all, because right now it's just a group of volunteers.
I think we hired that person. Didn't we hire that person, John?
Yes, I think she starts in May.
Yeah.
Right, John?
Yeah, they hired them, and I think it's late May or early June is when they.
Yeah, I think you're right. But so that's probably some of the stuff that certainly, Michael, we need subject matter experts and we need residents. So I can talk to you more about that program.
Yep, let's do that.
Okay. That was absolutely an item not on the agenda. Sorry, John. It loosely falls under senior outreach.
It does.
Okay. We're not very strict on, well, Mike is very strict on the agenda. The rest of us are not as strict on the agenda. All right. John, does anybody else have anything on senior outreach? All right. Well, how about the staff report?
All right. So Lawson Park, the renovations are going to already started or will be starting on May 3rd. So that was Monday. It'll be going on all the way through September for Lawson and Franklin Park. So keep an eye out for that. That park has park close signs up and everything like that. So just keep an eye out for the renovations going on there. So just to remind everyone, it's getting a new playground, new play structure. It's 3 stories tall.
Is this the one that's the tallest in the world?
I don't know if it's tallest in the world, but it's tallest in the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you told us the world before, John. I'm just kidding.
a new, the baseball field is going to be renovated. It's going to have fitness equipment and something kind of cool. We're going to try something new with our basketball courts. It's a Verisoft court, so it's kind of like a hard tile rubberized surface that is supposed to last longer and also create kind of a similar play structure or play experience. So that'd be cool to kind of see how that all comes together. The baseball turf at Memorial will begin on Monday. We had a little bit of an issue 2 weeks ago. We had a tournament at Memorial Park on the other fields, and we had barricaded the field and roped it off and fenced it and everything. And a team decided they wanted to take ground balls on gravel. So that kind of pushed back the install a little bit. So we're looking at a Monday install for the turf, and it should be done by the end of May. The electrical boring for the scoreboard started today. So that will take 2 days. Right now, there is going to be a video board, but I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there is a chip shortage in the country. And it not only does it affect vehicles, but it also affects scoreboards. So we will have a brand new 10-inning scoreboard by June 5th, but we will not have the video scoreboard by June 5th. We will most likely have the video board next year, providing chips can be made again. We're doing some spray and fibars. So fibars, that fall zone material you see at playgrounds. Doing Lockman Park, doing Cummingston, we're doing Elks Park, and we're doing JC Park, and that will wrap up the parks that we did 7 parks this year, this fiscal year. So that will wrap up this fiscal year. Those should be done by June, but these guys, they're the only company in the state that I know that does this type of work. So they're a little bit behind as far as scheduling goes, but that should be done by June. The dog park screens were delivered on Tuesday, so probably next week we'll have those installed. Dr. Park was April 24th and 25th. We actually had a really good turnout from residents, and I think Commissioner Macy mentioned it earlier in the meeting that there still are some parks that could use some help, and we're never going to turn anyone down. So if you guys know anyone or something like that, reach out to us. The senior center had a free churro day yesterday for Cinco de Mayo, so they handed out churros to everyone that wanted to grab one. And our Insight, we just received them in the offices yesterday, so you should be, they're already out in the mail, hot off the press. So keep an eye out for that. We are still operating at a 50% total facility capacity, but we're offering more classes. And how we're doing that is we're still keeping our class capacity size at 25%. And so far that has been extremely receptive and has worked out really well. We have a new program. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring in more variety to our youth programs. So we have a new program. It's called Acting Out for Kids. So it's pretty much acting classes. And at the end of each class, they put on a little show. So we have that going on. So if you guys have kids of the age, check that out. Just trying to think, there's a lot. I have a list here. There have been some new COVID guidelines that have been released. Most of the indoor stuff remains relatively the same, but we are at a percentage base now, as I'm sure you've all seen. So the state has to hit 55% in order for employees to return back to work in person, 65% for some restrictions of indoor gatherings and sports arenas to increase a little bit more. and then all the way up to 70% where the whole state kind of gets lifted. There also was, starting today, there was a guideline that masks don't need to be worn when you're outside, especially in a gathering of 100 people or less. They also put out guidelines as well saying that non-contact sports for youths don't have to wear masks if they're out in the field, but for like softball and baseball, if they're in the dugout, they have to wear masks. All contact sports still have to wear masks for the time being. So it's also kind of eased the restrictions on testing for kids. Before there was a testing of anyone that was 13 through 19 had to be tested every week. If that age group, those particular participants are vaccinated, completely vaccinated, they've received the 2 vaccines and they've waited the 14-day grace period, they don't need to be tested every week if they're not showing any signs. So that's kind of everything. If I'm missing something, I apologize, but it's kind of a laundry list that I had going on.
Mr. Macy.
So the Arbor Day thingy was canceled, but what happened to the pine seedlings? Like, what if somebody wants a pine seedling?
I believe we gave them out to anyone who wanted them. So
Oh, they're gone.
yeah, they're gone. So we handed them out and everyone wanted them. And also, if, since they are live trees, they had to be, handed out. So we handed out,
Okay,
probably.
I didn't know there was anybody there to hand them out to, but okay, that's good. And then the other question I had was, you were talking about COVID, and I heard that there was like a DPS shortage of COVID recently. Do we not have vaccinated DPS workers?
So vaccinations are not a requirement at this time. We do, I don't know what the percentage is, but we do have a lot of employees that are vaccinated at DPS. We had one of our park staff came in contact with someone, and so we had to quarantine staff for 14 days. So we got 2 back on Thursday of last week, and we have, I think, 4 or 5 back now. So they're all coming pretty much back online. But
So do those, are we advertising well to our employees that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to quarantine if you're exposed?
Yeah, I mean, we are advertising that. People know that. HR is doing a good job of, explaining that to all staff. But at this point in time, there is no requirement to make people vaccinated or not vaccinated.
I get that there's no requirement, but it just seems like we're going to be in trouble if every month of the summer we're going to lose 8 DPS workers to quarantine. So it feels like encouraging them and giving them all the information is something that we should be thinking about. That's all I had.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts or comments for John on staff report? Yes, Joseph.
John, would there be a way to identify maybe like the 5 or 10 parks that are in the most need that we could bump out to the public? Or I know Commissioner Macy mentioned a softball team. I think at one point we mentioned something with some of our soccer teams. I know a lot of them were at a tournament the week we had the park cleanup. But if there is a way we could identify those, then maybe we could look to those organizations to help get those cleaned up.
Yeah, I can create a list.
Put these kids to work.
Could also probably go through the condo associations. I know our condo association has always done Grant Park, and we had a small army out there on Saturday.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Anything else on staff report? Moving on, to items not on the agenda. I feel like the whole thing was not on the agenda, so. Anybody have anything that they want to cover? Going once, twice, 3 times. John, back to you.
All right. I'm sure you guys are getting tired of me talking by now, but Royal Oak in Bloom is May 9th. I believe that's Mother's Day. And then opening day, which is not on the agenda, but I just remembered it. Opening day for the Leprechauns is June 5th.
Oh, nice. Anything else? All right. This might be the shortest meeting ever.
So assuming that I am approved at the meeting on Monday.
Oh, we don't make assumptions here, Michael. Like,
Who
I'm
should
just
I
kidding.
contact, or who would contact me with like information about who the people are, any information that I might need to look at so I have background?
You can reach out to me. I'm the
Anything?
chair.
Okay.
I would be happy
And-
to go through something, set up some time and talk through it all with you.
Okay. Just so that I start getting up to speed.
Yep. I will put my email address in the chat for you.
Okay.
Oh, if I can spell. There you go. Just send me an email, Michael, and we can set up some time and go through all those things. I do actually, going back to the items not on the agenda. Jen, when do we need to start thinking about the master plan?
Soon.
Right. What does that
Actually,
look like?
I asked Aaron this very question today, and he said
Oh.
last time the cycle, they really started working on it in the winter. But he did say, actually, that we should mention it today, which I didn't do. So good thing you brought it up. Just so that we could start thinking about it and like getting the word out. Hey, what are you looking for in the parks? What do you think our parks need? So that is something that we can be thinking about. But he said the work on that happens typically in the winter.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm saying soon because summer's going to go by fast and everything, and we requested funding to do the master plan, so it's going to come sooner than later. So start thinking. Yep.
Maybe I don't know the processes for the master plan, and I'm guessing the only person who does is our historian, who's not on this call. So maybe next time we could talk just a little bit, like an overview of what to expect from the process, so that we can understand it a little bit more, John.
So my understanding is the current one that's about to expire, that master plan was sort of put together by a fellow from the city, and
Okay.
they kind of put the information together. They went out and they retrieved all the information they got. They had public gatherings where people could speak what they wanted to see, and they kind of put all the information together. And that fellow position usually falls under the assistant of the city manager. So I'm not sure if we'll get a fellow or how fast that will happen, but in any case, there's always a way to kind of do something similar to the look and feel report that we did for the downtown park. Kind of something similar like that. So there's many ways to approach it.
Okay. Well, maybe we can talk through that as a group, as a board next time, to see how we can help as well and what we want. So just to make sure that we all understand what's coming in December. Or this winter. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said December. I'm brain dead.
That is
at
when
this
winter
point.
starts.
It is true.
By the calendar.
Thank God. All right. Anything else from anybody? We're now done with upcoming events and items not on the agenda. Michael, did you get my email?
I did. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. Anything else? So if somebody would like to make a motion, we can say good night. But I need somebody to make the motion. I can't do it.
A motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, we can't vote on this. So what do we do, John? Just end it?
This meeting cannot end.
This meeting cannot end until next month.
I guess I'll make that executive decision. I'll just click leave now.
Okay. I forgot we can't even vote on adjournment. That's interesting. Well, Michael, we want to say welcome to the board. We're excited to have you. I'm looking forward
Thank
to hearing
you.
more about your work and all the things that you can bring for the seniors. We always are interested in all that stuff. So thank you all for coming, and we will see you in June on a date to be determined and a location to be determined. So thank you and have a good night, everyone.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
See you then.
Bye-bye.